Alright, hey everyone. My name is Justin Diamond, and today I'm going to read Chapter 7 from my upcoming novel, Giant Special Tokyo Love and Game. Alright, I call this one Walking Goo. I was getting ready to go to work in Tokyo, business suit, tie, shoulder bag waiting by the door. My dress shoes were next to the bag, making friends with all of the other pairs of shoes. Like any good Japanese house, the first section of the home was a lowered tile floor, just for shoes, and the rest of the house was the barefoot zone, a step up from that. Everything was ready but my hair. I hated to wear it in a ponytail. I hadn't grown it out long just to tie it back every day. I wanted it down. But that was the problem, wasn't it? All of the toiletries were Japanese. I wasn't quite sure which bottle or tube to grab. Even though these were Japanese products, many of them incorporated English into their labels. I picked up a few and scanned them before putting them back down again. Finally, I picked up a small cylinder for the second time and deemed it the one I wanted. Nakano was the name. It makes you stylish was the only English written on the label. Oh, Aksu, I said, trying to pronounce the Japanese. I was fairly certain that the Aksu was Japanese English for wax, in this case meaning hair wax. I tried it on, at first in a small amount, but then in greater and greater quantities. There was a certain desperation quality to my styling, a wish that the amount of product I used would somehow make up for my lack of skills in hairstyling or understanding of the product. Finally, I quit. Although I had to admit I wasn't sure I had improved the situation in any way. I hurriedly put on my shoes and ignored a few plastic grocery bags tied shut. I left, locking the door behind me. A moment later, I unlocked the door and ran back inside for the plastic grocery bags. We used them for garbage, like any Japanese household would. They were perfect for many reasons. Trash cans in Japan are smaller, like everything else, making grocery bags the perfect size. Also, they're free, and using them for once for groceries and twice for garbage counts as reusing. But also, today was garbage day. I grabbed the bags, relocked the door, and took them around the corner of the building. There, at waist height, was a large metal cage, built specifically for the garbage. The neighbors had already placed their garbage into the cage. Today was the day to recycle cans and PET bottles. PET bottles were regular plastic bottles as far as I was concerned. I took a moment to take a look at the bagged cans of our neighbors. It was incredible the amount of beer drunk by this small group of people living in what I would call a townhouse. Now, the cage for the garbage was to stop birds or dogs from going through the trash. After it was properly secured, I began the half-mile walk to the train station. I passed several other garbage pickup sites along the way. Not all of them were metal cages. A few used simple nets to discourage the wildlife from eating them. I zigzagged through the residential area, past a small park, until I made it onto the main road that I would follow all the way down to Kuki Station. You could always tell when you were walking down a main road in Japan because it was lined with square yellow tiles. The yellow brick road, as I like to think of it. Each yellow tile was approximately a third of a meter square, with these little raised circular bumps. They were meant to be a guide for the walking sticks of the blind. I'd never seen a blind man walking down their path before, but whatever. I passed the 7-Eleven and Holdings at the corner. The sign was identical to our 7-Elevens back home, except for the and Holdings part, whatever that meant. Below it was the kanji symbol for sake, which always made me happy to see, because it was one of the few Japanese symbols that I could read and comprehend. In this context, it meant that they sell alcohol, not just sake. Historically, the kanji for sake was probably one of the most understood of all the kanji symbols. I walked on, past the biggest salon in town. Its sign was written in cursive, of all things, but it was illegible to me. It looked like it said, "A fetish taco," in white over an orange background. To complete their flavor of Japanese bizarreness, they had a sign posted on the wall, also white on orange, titled "Menu," as though they were a restaurant. The rest of the sign was illegible Japanese, but I knew that they were advertising hair salon type services. I walked on, crossing the street when there weren't any cars and passing a karaoke bar, before coming to the final landmark before the train station, the bicycle parking building. I had beef with them, charging money simply to park a bicycle. I was too cheap to pay for such a service, which was the entire reason why I usually walk to the train station instead of biking there. Just past that was the official bicycle parking for the train station, along with the parking police, a team of old men in day-glow vests. We smiled and bowed to each other briefly without breaking stride. I almost tripped taking the stairs up to the station. There was a hot girl in a miniskirt almost at the top, and the angle seemed like I might get a little bit of an upskirt view, but like always, those legs just went all the way up. The crowd thickened closer to the gates around the point where I take out my wallet. I'd long ago abandoned buying tickets for every train I took, and with the help of Sora, I now had a smart card, a Suica, in my wallet. Suica was Japanese for watermelon. The Suica receptor was a round green circle, which I touched my wallet to and walked on through the turnstile. Then down an escalator to train stop number 4. I was 2 minutes early, otherwise known as perfect timing. The void where the train would pull up had small lines of people waiting at intervals. They were marked on the ground, where the doors of the train would open. It was more complex than it seems because it mattered how many cars there were in the train and how many doors the train cars had. I had never taken the time to figure the system out. Instead, I simply stood behind someone else who appeared to know where to stand. There was another yellow brick road here along the length of the platform. Standing off to the side, not bothering to stand in line even, was a group of schoolgirls. They were wearing identical plaid short skirt uniforms. One of them dropped something on the floor and bent over to pick it up. She was standing with her back to me, and for a moment I saw her bend over and pick up the object. But I didn't see the object. My eyes were drawn instead to the white flash of her panties. At which point, trumpets played a victory tune in my head, Dun 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 dun. It felt like an eternity I had been in Japan, staring at women's legs, waiting for this moment. The schoolgirl was laughing as she smoothed her skirt back down. She looked over her shoulder, and I instinctively turned away to look at anything else. Abunai desu kara, kiroi sen made o suwari kudasai, came a recorded voice over the loudspeaker. Because it's dangerous. Stand behind the yellow line. The train is coming. The group of schoolgirls all picked up their bags and prepared to board. I turned to face the train and feigned disinterest. Actually, I didn't have to feign. Instead, I busied myself with my headphones and PDA, getting an episode of The Daily Show ready to watch on the ride. When I made it to Metropolitan Plaza, I decided to take the elevator. Just as I walked around to the bank of them, I was able to follow a large group of businessmen and be the last on. We all squeezed in, and like mimes, we avoided the invisible wall where the doors would close. There was an awkward moment when nothing happened. One of the Japanese men scoffed, and he reached past me to hit the door close button. I was the one standing closest to the buttons. It was my job to hit it. Elevators in Tokyo didn't close automatically. You had to hit the door close button in order to get anywhere. It was a small detail I was in the habit of forgetting. When I got to work on the 14th floor, I had just enough time to say hi to a friend before bing bong, and our first lesson has started. Thank you all very much. I'll see you next time.